What is up,
Welcome back to the
everybody?
Back
And
Pocket
well,
Podcast. I'm Dylan Shall. I'm here with Charlie Nidell and Serge Kadali. And today we're going to be doing a mock draft. I'm a Dolphins fan. Charlie's a Giants fan. Serge is a Jets fan. So mock draft
We're all
season comes a
depressed.
little bit early for us. We're
Yeah.
not having a particularly good start to the year. So might as well look into next season. As you can see here on your board, Giants 3, Jets 5, Dolphins 7. I mean, we still are better than you guys, all things considered.
all
But
right,
Better? I don't know.
bet. We are less
yeah,
bad.
I'm
But
glad you're. I'm glad. I'd rather be more bad right now.
yeah, enjoy losing games. Winning games is
I
still fun.
am. I actually am right now.
I'd rather go 7-9 or 7-10 than 5-12.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
care.
why you haven't won a playoff game since 2000.
That's why you haven't played in a playoff game since 2011. But
Okay, and we made back-to-back AFC championships when we do. We
you were
just don't waste
We
five.
have
everyone's
Jackson
You
time.
were
Dart.
5 years old.
Yeah, exactly. And you weren't alive.
Your quarterback is Justin Fields.
Your quarterback
And
is
yours is
Tua
two.
Yeah,
Tagovailoa.
then are we really going to compare that? That's not a comparative.
Fields has
Yo,
aura.
Jackson Dart clears both.
Bro, I
Jackson Dart
actually
is
hate you.
actually
Why
just
is he good? I
Well, he's
actually,
not
I'm
good. He
not.
just
He
rushes.
is
He
he
just
is really
rushes.
good.
Well, let's get into the mock draft. I
Yeah,
don't
this is
know.
a bunch of this is getting cut out, but it's okay.
No, let's not cut it.
No, it's
Let's keep it
not.
in. But Tennessee have the first overall pick. I'll take the liberty of taking that for them because it is a luxury to have the first overall pick when you're not in need of a quarterback, especially in this draft class where we have a lot of high level players in positions that are not necessarily positions of crazy value. I think that this is a pretty easy selection. The best player in college football this season and the best prospect, Ruben Bain, is the number one overall pick to Tennessee. Do you guys have any concerns with that?
No, I like that pick. I think obviously we've seen a lot of Arvell Reese here. I like Bain a bit more just because I think he is someone who not only is going to be an elite pass rusher, but is also stout against the run. Probably has about 40 pounds over Reese, so I don't know where he might be a bit more of a tweener than Bain. So I like this pick. I think this for me pretty obvious number one pick. Um,
Yeah, I agree here. I think we are seeing a lot of Arvell Reese, which I'm not really sure about because this is a guy who look, projects to be an edge rusher in the NFL, but plays as a linebacker at Ohio State. And I'm not sure that he's quite as talented of an edge rusher as Ruben Bain. He's definitely a more versatile prospect, but at the end of the day, you can only really play one position at the next level. And if he's gonna be a Micah Parsons archetype where he can play multiple spots, he's got to really progress at each of those spots. And he's got to, he's not as talented as say, an Abdul Carter from last year who was drafted as a versatile pass rusher. So I think that Ruben Bain makes a lot of sense at pick one for Tennessee. So yeah, I'm cool with that.
yep. I'll take the second pick now, New Orleans. Uh, it's a tougher one. It's a tougher one because I think there are positions that they could go outside of quarterback, but at the same time, it doesn't seem like they believe in Spencer Rattler. I don't think that Tyler Shuck is going to stop them from taking quarterback. So I'm gonna go with my number one quarterback in this draft, and that's Fernando Mendoza. The reason for that is I feel like now more in the NFL, you're seeing teams start to re-gravitate towards the typical pocket passer, especially with a lot of guys that may be a bit more toolsy, a bit more toolsy is the right word. We've seen Zach Wilson, Justin Fields in the past few years who have all the tools to succeed, but just can't process an NFL defense. And Mendoza, I think, is someone who not an elite processor necessarily, but at the same time, he's someone who's excellent throwing in rhythm, surgical accuracy, by far the most accurate quarterback in this class. And he's also taken over a team like Indiana where he's a Heisman favorite and he doesn't necessarily have the greatest supporting cast in the world. So for me, that gives him the edge over Ty Simpson. So I'm gonna go him number two to the Saints.
Yeah, agreed. I like Mendoza a lot. I mean, the Heisman favorite right now has looked really, really good this season. I'm a little worried about the quarterbacks in this class as a whole. I don't think that any of them uh, maybe necessarily have the talent to be this top pick. I don't think that there's any clear number one guy in this class either. I think right now the favorite is Ty Simpson to be the number one quarterback selected. But you've seen Mendoza, you've seen Dante Moore, you've seen Simpson. It's not one of those classes that has a clear standout, top caliber guy. But yeah, I think the Saints have no choice but to go quarterback here.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Mendoza as a quarterback. He's probably my quarterback two in the draft. My quarterback one is going to be mentioned at some point later, so it's not even worth bringing up now. But I was using the Browns pick at four. He was going to be the quarterback that I would have taken for them, so that's going to make my pick a little bit more difficult.
Hmm.
Yeah. I guess we can move to pick three, where my New York Giants and hopefully not Joe Shane are drafting. Um, I mean, I am kind of up in the air about whether Joe Shane should keep his seat or not, whether his incompetencies have been, due to Brian Dable being the head coach or not. I think he's made some really solid picks and some really, really bad picks as well. So I think this is definitely an interesting one, and I think most of the good picks he's made have been pretty much no-brainers. And even I would have made those picks at the time. Uh, so I don't know if this will be Joe Shane or not by that time. I'm seeing a lot of Jordan Tyson to the New York Giants. I think number three is far too early to grab a receiver who I don't think is that good. I think he's definitely a first round prospect, but he is not as good as most of the guys that we've seen go in the top 5 to 10 picks at receiver in the last few years. He's definitely not as good as Malik Neighbors. He's not as good as Marvin Harrison or even Romo Dunze, I don't think, as a prospect. He's not as good as Teteroa McMillan from last year. So I think this is a really elite trade down spot for the Giants. Um, Unless you want to grab Caleb Downs or Arvell Reese here, who are the clear two best prospects, I think, on the board if the draft, goes this way. So if I had my way, I'd probably trade down and draft Spencer Fano or Francis Mauigoa. But at this spot, I think it's a true toss up for me. I think I might even just grab Arvell Reese here because I think it's just best player available. And
Is
if
that your
we're
pick?
I think it's going to be my pick. It's not a spot where, we're doing this mock draft. We're not doing trades in this mock draft. So ideally, this would be trading down probably 5 to 10 picks and drafting one of those O linemen or even Jordan Tyson or Carnell Tate. Um, but from that spot, I think it's too early to reach. You have to take the best player.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think Garvell Reese is the right pick there, considering, but that's definitely a trade down if the Giants are able to make that work and if Joe Shane is willing to make that work. Cleveland are in a tough spot now because Mendoza's the no-brainer for them, and they're not also in a trade down spot. I'm not willing to take Ty Simpson here at the four because I don't think that he's particularly franchise changing. So I'm going to take Jordan Tyson because I think he's just the best available player for them in a position of need. I think they'd rather trade down than do that, but Cleveland have made some savvy franchise moves as of late, so we'll give them the grace and give them a receiver.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate the pick. I think Cleveland definitely desperately need a wide receiver one. And I think out of the day, you can't take a quarterback that you just don't love, can't convince yourself into taking. And there is maybe a little bit of untapped potential with Shedeur Sanders, or if not, you could get another bridge quarterback. So I don't hate it. Also, I have another first round pick. Maybe they trade up. Not in this mock, but um, just for a general scenario. But with this Jets pick, my New York Jets. I actually am going to take Ty Simpson. Um, Someone
You're
that
ready
has.
for Ty Simpson to take over your franchise?
So let me explain. I wasn't the biggest fan of Ty Simpson earlier in this class, but from watching him, I would say he is by far the best processor in this draft class. He is someone who pre and post snap is very kind of, he looks like a veteran NFL quarterback. And I think for the Jets system where they're trying to put a square peg in a round hole where they're trying to get a more athletic quarterback like Justin Fields to run kind of a dual threat offense where Tanner Eggstrand, his offense, he needs someone who's going to be on time, someone who's going to be accurate. Ty Simpson isn't necessarily the most accurate. He is accurate, but he's not Mendoza level. I wouldn't say he's Dante Moore level accurate either, but he is someone who is absolutely going to know what he's seeing. He's going to throw the ball on time. He is going to throw with anticipation. He's someone who has plus arm talent. I think his arm talent is severely underrated, probably the best in the class if Lenora Sellers does not declare. But
I think which is what we can probably gather from how the season's gone.
yeah,
That
that's what I
Lenore's
would
gonna be,
assume.
yeah.
He will be back in college. So for that reason, I think Simpson would be the good pick here for the Jets. I think I saw someone tweet a few days ago, what would the Jets record be with either one of Simpson or Mendoza? I still think it wouldn't be good. It wouldn't be good, but I think those are the prototypical kind of quarterbacks that you would want to run the offense. At least not necessarily prototypical for like necessarily like they're Peyton Manning necessarily, but they can process they process very well. They've got pretty a very underrated arm talent. So for that reason, I like this pick here. I think there is a bit of upside that isn't mentioned as well with his arm talent, so I'm happy with this pick.
Yeah, for Simpson, I he's one of the guys who I think I probably watched in week 0 through 2 in the college football season this year, and I was very unimpressed with. And then he's one of those guys who, as the season has gone on, has really started to impress me and is playing really good turnover-free football, but also explosive football.
Mhm.
So you mentioned that he's, making the right throws and reading the defense as well. And, he's only thrown one interception all season. Um, but the other part of his game is that he can make explosive plays when he needs to. He's not one of the immobile quarterbacks like Cam Ward was last season. I'm not going to call him Lamar Jackson, but he can make plays happen with his legs and his arm talent. Um,
Absolutely.
Garrett Wilson will definitely benefit from having a competent passer at the helm. The one thing I worry about with Ty Simpson is where his ceiling really is. And that's just something that I don't know. We know that I think he's going to be a good, competent quarterback in the NFL. Whether he's enough to elevate a team to playoff or Super Bowl potential, I don't know yet.
Mm. Mhm.
I'm
Listen,
not a big fan of Simpson just prototypically. I get that the pocket passer is back in style, and I do appreciate that he is a good passer in structure, but I think especially
that's
for
been your guy. That's been your guy. That's what you've advocated for
It's your
I
whole
mean,
quarterback.
time.
clearly my advocations haven't done much. So the problem I have with Simpson is that out of structure, we haven't really seen him out of structure.
I disagree with that. I
We've
disagree with that.
we've
I think
kind of
we've seen it. He is someone who can't. I know he is like he looks like the typical immobile
I'm
pocket
not
passer,
saying
but
he's immobile. I'm saying we haven't really seen him struggle yet. And that I think that's nerve-wracking for a franchise that's not going to be good to have someone who's had the highs of Alabama doesn't know how to deal with adversity. I feel like that's a match made in hell.
I think I what I will say is I think the Jets are actually a very underrated landing spot for a rookie quarterback this year. And the reason I say that is because this is okay. See, he's laughing, but he unironically, my logic makes perfect sense. You have probably
How
one of the
many
better.
quarterbacks can you say this for that they have drafted that it's a great landing spot? Zach Wilson,
Okay, okay, no,
Sam
but
Darnold,
no, but that's okay. Darnold, I concede. Zach Wilson was not a good quarterback, and B, this is
Christian
a better situation.
Hackenberg,
This okay. Now you're just yapping,
Geno
but
Smith.
you gonna let me talk?
Yeah, I'll let you talk. Kevin De Bruyne.
For the first time, the Jets have a legitimate offensive line that will be able to protect their young quarterback from day one. You have probably one of the best young bookend tackle duos in the NFL. Like other than Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater, I wouldn't take another again young tackle duo over Olu Fashanu and Armin Membu. You have Elijah Vera Tucker, who I assume will be back. Because obviously
Got
concerns
it.
whether or not he could stay on the field. Joe Tippmann, another guy who has been very good this year at guard. This is an offensive line and that can arguably could be in top five combos next season because they've got because not only are they good now, they're already a good offensive line, not a great one, but a good one. But their youth gives them so much room to grow. And then you have Tanner Eggstrand, who has been a good offensive coordinator. The problem is his quarterback is probably the worst non-rookie processor in the entire NFL. So if Ty Simpson can be what he's been in college, I think this is a great landing spot for him.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll move on to pick six, the Las Vegas Raiders.
Tua
This is a
Tagovailoa
spot.
mentioned.
What?
Get it? Because pick six. That was pretty good. You
Might
have to
have
admit.
won this year, but all right, word.
Uh, this is a spot where I think the Raiders could go truly anywhere. This is a team that needs a lot of help. It's got to be a defensive pick for me. It's a team in transition. It needs to rebuild. Uh, Needs are all over. And I think Peter Woods is the guy to get that started or get it, sort of underway. This is a really, really talented defensive tackle who is super versatile, can play kind of anywhere across the defensive line. He played on the edge for his first couple seasons at Clemson and now has moved back to defensive tackle. He's not having the greatest season this season. That being said, neither is Clemson football as a whole. They've been dreadful this season as a team that started in the top 10 in the country, is now probably not making a bowl game or definitely not making a bowl game. So I'm going to chalk that up to just, Clemson's been bad, so Woods hasn't been great, but he's still up high on these boards because there's, a lot of talent there. And I think this makes a lot of sense for Vegas to just grab someone in the trenches, and he's the best player available in the trenches. Cool. Cool.
I
Okay.
mean, it's kind of just like the pick. Like you're not wrong. There's really not much like to advance upon. They didn't need.
You don't have to, you could just move to the next one if you
All
wanted
right,
to.
so I'll go with the Dolphins, and they're licking their chops that Caleb Downs is still available. The best
Mm.
franchises in the world draft the best player available. The Dolphins have 1,000 needs, safety being one of them. Maybe not their biggest one, but a good player there. It doesn't matter. You got to go and do it.
Yeah, like that pick. Mad as now the pick for the Commanders because that was gonna be my guy. I think for the Commanders, they could use everything right now on defense. A lot of their young guys have underperformed this season. And obviously that defensive line, I don't know what the hell they were doing that offseason. So they still need to go everywhere there. TJ Parker, pretty high upside guy, but he hasn't had the greatest year. I don't know about that. I do like Keldrick Falk a little bit more. He's gonna, from day one, he will be a plus run defender. I also look at cornerback, definitely definitely in play. I don't know. I don't like the board here. I don't like the board specifically for defense. Honestly, you could go. I might actually go offense. I think I'm going to stick with the mantra of just take best player available over all else. And for me right now, the best player available for the, I believe, not the fourth, the third Ohio State player, Carnell Tate. I mean, he's had for me, and
Oh,
he's had an amazing year
yeah.
this year with Ohio State. Probably the most polished route runner. He's a threat all levels of the field, contested catches, getting in behind a defense. And like I said again, I already mentioned the route running is probably the most refined in this class. He'll be a great kind of safety blanket for Jane Daniels. Isn't going to wow you necessarily with testing, but I think we're also seeing in the NFL where guys like Puka Nakua, Emeka Ibuka, Amon-Ra St. Brown, guys who weren't the most explosive at the combine, but they're just guys that can make plays, the guys that will win with their route running, those guys that will win at the catch point and still are pretty good rack threats as well. So I like this pick, top 10. I know Washington could use a defensive player, but you don't want to force a pick, especially this high. So, and I also, especially with the Terry McLaurin kind of being MIA for most of the season, I think Jane Daniels needs a new number one weapon.
I
Yeah.
prefer Makai Lemon to Carnell Tate personally, but
Mm.
I don't mind taking a receiver.
No, interestingly for me, Carnell Tate, I think is going to be my number one receiver going into this draft. Uh,
Nah,
I
nah.
I
I like it. I
really,
like
really
it. I
like
like it. I
Carnell
like
Tate.
Tyson's better than both Lemon
they're
and Tate.
they're
Like
one A
Lemon,
and
I
one
think.
And this
B.
is where I disagree with that because I think Carnell Tate is has blossomed into a really, really good player, and he's a very smart football player. He would not have been the pick for me at number 8 to Washington, because I just don't think it's their biggest need. I think I would have gone to the defensive side of the ball, probably with Jermod McCoy, to play
Mm.
corner. But I do think I like Carnell Tate a lot, and if the Giants were to draft a receiver, I would rather have Carnell Tate than Jordan Tyson. Um, that's my take on those two guys, and Mekhi Lemon does come in third behind them. Um, but at 9 to the Bengals, I'm not even upset by going to Jermod McCoy here. There's no clear interior offensive lineman, which is probably their biggest need in this draft, or really offensive lineman as a whole. They'll take anyone they can get. But I think Jermod McCoy, their only standout defensive player right now, other than Trey Hendrickson, is DJ Turner. You put Jermod McCoy on the other side from DJ Turner, and you potentially, if all works out well, have a really, really great boundary corner duo for the next 7 years or so. Um, there's no limit to where Jermod McCoy can go. I think he's actually really, really good as a prospect. To be a top 10 as a corner is really difficult. A lot of scheme versatility, can play kind of however you want him to play. Um, and is really, really good um, ball skills. He's not the quickest, but very, very good ball skills.
Yeah, I like this pick. I think the one concern is obviously coming off that ACL in January,
Yeah.
but I think he was clearly the number one corner for based on tape last year. So I definitely like this pick. I still feel like he is my CB1. So yeah, not much else to say.
Yeah, I don't mind the Jermod McCoy pick if it didn't just give the Rams the pick they wanted in Fano right in their lap. I think an interior guy,
Really? Not a quarterback? Not
no.
Well,
Dante?
I don't think that you like the
Well,
Bengals
no,
would be
you
drafting
don't
on
draft like
draft day to foil the Rams' plans.
You're right. You're right. But it just works for my purposes that you take Spencer Fano here on the offensive line. I think he's got the versatility that he can play in the interior and he can be a tackle. And he's shown over his time in Utah that he can play against some of the best edge rushers in college football and succeed even with a lesser group of teammates around him. And now having the Rams, he'll be able to do a good job.
Yeah, I mean, I like that pick. I would have gone Dante Moore. I mean, how many chances are the Rams going to get to be picking in this top 10 area? And he, for me, is probably the last top 10 guy.
And I'll
No,
tell you,
not top 10 guy, first round
Dante Moore
quarterback
is
for
my
me.
quarterback one in this draft. I didn't want to leak it. I think Dante Moore is the best quarterback in this draft, but I would rather, if I'm the Rams, give Stafford another chance to win with a group of guys
Really?
that are going
I
to be.
I don't know. I think theoretically in this scenario, the Rams are not passing up Dante Moore only because I think Dante Moore will be gone by this point. I think
Mhm.
that all of Moore, Simpson, and Mendoza will probably be top 9 picks.
Yeah.
So,
But how many
and that's
teams really need quarterbacks?
well, the Browns, Saints,
Well,
and
teams are
Jags
always going to pull the
and the
trigger on a
Raiders all
quarterback.
need quarterbacks desperately.
Hmm.
So you've got 4 teams in the top 6 picks that all have desperate need for quarterbacks. Then you've got the Dolphins who are not going to draft a quarterback, it doesn't seem like, but would probably improve by drafting a quarterback.
Hmm.
Um, so I don't think that I mean, obviously there are worlds. We've seen quarterbacks, what was it, a few years ago when the first quarterback wasn't drafted until round 3, was it Will Levis or something
That
like
one.
that?
No, I think it was
No,
the
it
year.
was
It
Kenny
was
Pickett
the
went
Kenny
21.
Pickett, right.
yeah. But then there wasn't
Um,
another one for like a few rounds.
So we've seen quarterbacks fall. It doesn't seem like it's that year because there are multiple teams in the top 5 to 10 picks that desperately need quarterback. So I think in this scenario, the Rams probably would snatch up a quarterback. But I do think that if they're going to go to offensive line, Spencer Fano's a really good option. He's got the versatility to play anywhere on the offensive line, it seems like, and the Rams could use a whole bunch of talent on the offensive line.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I don't think he would fall here. Although I could see this team trading up. I'm gonna take Dante Moore here for the Cardinals.
I like it. I
I
like it.
think
I
I
like
think
it.
it's a team that no one is really sleeping on quarterback for, but I think with Kyler Murray now, I think it's official that he was benched. I don't think there's any road back for him. I think there's a chance the Cardinals just eat all that money this year, but they need to move on. I could again see them being one of those teams that's really aggressive in this range where, like you said, we talked about the Giants, the trade down scenario. The Cardinals absolutely for me makes sense as a trade up scenario here. But in this no trade situation, they hit the jackpot. They get more someone who is very accurate, probably one of the more accurate quarterbacks in the NFL. There is a chance he goes back to college. I know I've been hearing rumors about that too. He is a I want to say I want to say he's like a red shirt. He
I
could.
think
The
he's a
point
red
is,
junior.
yeah. But he could definitely. He's a redshirt junior, but I think he could definitely go back for another year, and he would still be pretty young by quarterback standards. But if does declare, he would be a top border. I think he'd be a top 10 pick, even though he's not in this scenario. So the Cardinals, they get lucky, they get him here. I like this pick.
Yeah, for sure. Agreed. I think if he falls here, it's another like the Rams. I don't see how they could really pass it up when, the split from Kyler Murray just feels inevitable. Whether they ride it out with Jacoby Brissett next season and wait for the next year, which looks like it has another really good quarterback class incoming,
Mhm.
or they snatch up Dante Moore or one of the other quarterbacks here, is yet to be seen. Moving to the Cowboys here, and this is a pick that it's so funny that on, PFF, it's highlighted as needs is tackle, D line, and linebacker. Because nine of the Cowboys' last 10 first and second round draft selections have been dedicated to defensive line and offensive line. Nine of the last 10. And the only one in that time that wasn't was Luke Schoonmaker, a tight end in the second round. Every single other pick since 2021, when they drafted Micah Parsons, has been
Mm.
dedicated to offensive or defensive line.
I don't agree
Um,
with the tackle one though. I think they're fine at tackle,
I
honestly.
also
I
think they're
kind of
okay at
agree.
tackle, but when you look at the last couple of years, Tyler Booker was their first round pick. Tyler Guyton was their first round pick the year before. They should be set in those positions, but it's hard not to go with the trend. I think they're going to go back to defensive line and they're going to go TJ Parker here. Losing Micah Parsons is huge. They've replaced, the interior of their defensive line with Kenny Clark and Quinnen Williams. So, if it weren't for that, I might think of a Keldrick Falk or who I think is probably going to be on the interior in the NFL. But I think I'm going to go TJ Parker. You need to add an edge rusher to make up for the loss of Micah Parsons.
Yeah, I don't mind that. You bring in some blue chip talent in TJ Parker, who he's got his kinks that he's got to work out. And again, Clemson's had a really bad year, but you
Yeah.
get someone that's a very talented player. Baltimore now have a couple of needs. I mean, they won't be picking here first things first, but if they were, I'm going to treat this as if they were picking at the 13, but I'm still probably going to reach pretty far down into the cookie jar for who I think they really would like to have. And that's an interior guy on the offensive line to replace Daniel Falele. I like Vega
I
Ioane out
love
of all
that.
of these
Love that
guys
pick.
to be their guard of the future because the interior line has been bad for a couple of years now. And if you really want Lamar and Henry to capitalize on their last few years together, Ioane is the guy to go forward with.
Yeah, love that pick. I think Ione is like I would say he's probably one of the better players in this class, probably one of the best. I think he has a case for just the best offensive lineman in this class, but obviously he's going to get docked a bit further down for being a guard. But pass protector could not be more night and day between him and Falele, and they'll give Lamar Jackson a little bit less improvising that he usually needs to do with Falele and Voorhees. So yeah, I really like this pick here. Moving on now to 14, I have the Minnesota Vikings. I think I'm again gonna go just BPA over positional value. I'm gonna go Jeremiah Love here. I think someone who, for me, clearly running back one in a running back class that is not very good, in my opinion. So I feel like this makes sense where you get your guy, the guy that's probably the only. There is a big difference between getting Jeremiah Love in the first versus, say, Jonah Coleman in the second. And the Vikings are a team that I feel like are pretty well built right now. I think their offensive line, they've done a good job there. Love, obviously, they have Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. Defensive line as well, they've done well. They could use a cornerback. I could definitely see them maybe taking a swing on Mansour Delane, who's been the best cornerback in the country this year. But I just think Love right now, he's someone who could be a game changer, especially for JJ McCarthy, who has typically relied on the run, who's leaned on the run throughout his career. I think this just makes sense here.
Yeah, agreed. I'm not sure. I mean, I agree in the sense that Jeremiah Love's the clear best running back in this class. I'm not sure it makes a lot of sense for the Vikings, who still have Jordan Mason and Aaron Jones under contract. Um,
Mm.
Neither of them are as good as Jeremiah Love, but it doesn't feel like the biggest need for the Vikings right now, as opposed to maybe drafting someone on the interior. I know it's hard to draft someone on the interior right after a guard gets taken at pick 13.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I'm not sure that running back is exactly where I would have gone, but Love walks into this team and becomes the RB1 for sure. Moving the Texans at 15. Um, the Texans feel like they kind of need to get this one right. Um, they're on a weird downward spiral this year, and this is a really good chance um, to grab someone who has fallen to this point. We haven't yet seen Francis Mauigoa's name go, and I think that if he's here, that's a dream, an absolute dream of a pick for the Houston Texans, a guy who will probably end up being a top 10 pick on draft day. If he fell to 15 to the Texans, you snatch him up as soon as the pick turns over to you.
Yeah, it's the right pick. You got to go line here. Ursay has been so bad for them, and he
He's
hasn't
actually
earned.
improved. He's actually improved, I feel like, from what I've watched him recently. But I think I like the Maui Goa pick too. I think either he plays if Ursary kind of if Ursary doesn't pan out, then you have him as your left tackle. If not, he can play guard. Probably the best, again, another candidate for the best just offensive lineman in this class. So I like it.
I hate watching Makai Lemon fall this far because he's one of my favorite players in the draft, but I don't think it makes sense for Carolina to go receiver here when they have Tedero McMillan and they have other serviceable guys in the room, Xavier Legette, Jalen Coker, who can play good football. When you could also go to the opposite side of the ball, to the edge rusher spot, and you have David Bailey sitting right there. I'm a big Bailey fan. I'm going to take him here at 16 for Carolina.
Yeah, really like that pick. Bailey, again, maybe the best pure pass rusher in this class, very undersized. But if you go to Carolina in that 3-4 scheme, he's going to be a bit more insulated. So I think just his explosiveness, sorry, off the edge is going to be a huge boost for Carolina's defense, who have the interior guys, but they don't really have a true guy on the outside yet, I feel like. I mean, you have some solid role players, like Scorden has been okay. You
I
have,
think Scorton's played pretty well
I
this
think
year.
Scores played well, but he's not like edge number
Yeah, no,
one. And I think David
David Bailey's
Bailey
got
could
that,
be
yeah.
kind of like that. And I think although some people may not like taking an undersized guy this high, we've seen what guys like Nick Benito can do when they're in the right scheme and how transformational they can be. So I like this pick here. 17, Kansas City Chiefs, another team that I don't think will be picking this high, but again, let's think like they do. Makai Lemon, like Dylan said, I really like Makai Lemon. Does he make sense here? I mean, you have Rice, who's kind of a bit of a similar skill set where he's kind of that slot slash Z kind of hybrid. So I don't know if they would do that. Um, I like their offense overall, to be fair. Um, I'm gonna go edge. I think the main issue and the issue that still is persistent is that they don't really have a ton of guys that I like on the edge. I'm gonna go Keldrick Falk. I would say he's kind of a bit similar to what Micah Williams was last draft, someone who's played very well before succumbing to what every Niners player does every season, tearing their ACL. But he was having a great year. Someone who, again, provides a very high floor with this athleticism as a run defender, but also has a lot of pass rush upside to jump into. He's going to go into a room where I think he's going to be able to get the chance to be mentored by Chris Jones. I assume Spagnuolo will be back, which I think will be good for him as well. And it's a pick probably for the future, but he's also going to be someone that he can play on first down right away. And that's already a big positive for a Chiefs team that has struggled to stop the run at times this year. So I like this pick here.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Keldrick Falk probably projects to play on the interior a little more in the NFL because I think he lacks the speed to play on the edge. But I could definitely see him being more of a Chris Jones type player who can line up on the edge too,
Hmm.
because of experience. But he is bigger guy. I think he's 6'6". And I think that he will probably project into the interior just because of how big he is. But the pick for me for the Chiefs would have probably been Mansour Delane. I
Mm.
think that the corner is a spot that needs addressing. Trent McDuffie's great, but they've got a couple guys slated to hit free agency, and I think that adding a top tier corner like that would have been huge. Moving to the 49ers, this is a spot where I think they probably could have used a guy like Keldrick Falk. Uh, the Niners are one of the teams that for me has drafted just so poorly in the last few years. And that's really led to the decline in production from the Niners. Um, you know, this year, of course, as unlucky as it was, they drafted Michael Williams, who went down injured. Um, but through 9 games, only had one sack. Last year, their first round pick was Ricky Pearsall, who has only registered 51 catches in 2 seasons. Um, and other than that, they haven't seen any production at all from late round draft picks. Um, like really, really next to nothing from anyone drafted after the first round, with the exception of Renardo Green, who is a starter for them now, I believe. Um, Now this one, I think I would go to the interior. I mean, Cassius Howell is there, who, again, one of those picks that maybe you see um as a defensive line replacement. I guess I will go to This is tough. I guess I will go to Cassius Howell here. Um, this isn't a guy who I think necessarily fits um a lot of teams. He's obviously a talented player, um, but not potentially not even a first round pick this year. He's one of those guys that'll be on the bubble. It'll depend on what you think of him as a player, in that in the locker room, in the draft room. But I think they need a lot of help on the defensive line, and the defense as a whole. So I think that's going to be the guy, with a top end talent there.
Mhm.
It ended up working out for Cleveland that they're going to have two new toys for whoever their next quarterback is going to be. I'm taking Mekhi Lemon here. They have Jerry
Really?
Jeudy as their starting
Really?
receiver right now. Jordan Tyson, Mekhi Lemon makes for one of the most formidable wide receiver rooms you could play against, and it is still a position of need. I think it's the best pick for them right in this spot. The defense is relatively stable positionally. The offensive line isn't a problem. The only thing you need is a
Mm.
starting quarterback, and that's not going to come here. So why not? Take Mekhi.
I don't know. I would have gone tackle. I think that's something where it's still in need. I
You're
understand that
taking Lomu or
maybe
Proctor? Like I feel like
I feel like Proctor could be a guy. I think he's improved as the season's gone on, and he's got that.
Lemon's the best player
I
left on the board.
He is. I agree. I agree.
And now
But
you
that's
have,
also why I would have gone either Simpson or Moore at four. I think you needed to
but
go.
I didn't believe in any of those guys at the four spot. I believe in Moore as a franchise quarterback, but Cleveland, I feel like, would rather have Jordan Tyson than they would have Dante Moore. Then going
Mm,
forward, Lemon should never have fallen this far, but you see him there, you pick him up.
I get that. I see it. Move on now. Number 20, the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're probably upset they don't have a quarterback either. I don't think I would against Sellers. I don't think would declare. I don't think Mateer would either. And then no, I'm not taking
I
Nuss.
don't think Leave It or Mayava will either.
No, and neither of them are good enough anyway for the first round. Mm, so Pittsburgh at 20.
Just made it a bit more difficult for you, yeah?
It is. It is. I would have gone Lemon. I would have gone Lemon. Would have gone on Lemon. Why I was upset with your pick as well. Um, I'm gonna go cornerback. I think their cornerback room. Yeah, actually, you know what? I'm pretty happy with Mansour Delane. I think Pittsburgh secondary. I said it all year long. I thought it was very overrated because they had that name value, and now you're seeing Jalen Ramsey, who has been moved to safety. You have Joey Porter, who hasn't had the greatest year. You have Darius Slay, who is also very old. They could definitely use some reinvigoration. Again, Mansour Delane, a lot of people's cornerback one. I'm not that opposed to it either, to be honest. He's someone who maybe doesn't have the ideal like measurables, but he's just been locked down, whether or not it's been in man or in zone. Just a good football player. He'll step in and be their guy, I feel like, for Pittsburgh immediately. So I like this. I think this should just again take the best player available, and it is a position of need.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I this is another spot where I maybe would have gone Mekhi Lemon is to the Buffalo Bills at 21, but I am again gonna just follow you up with best player available. I think Sonny Styles is a really good fit in Buffalo. Uh,
Row.
the Bills are gonna get a really good player here. Whether I was in between Sonny Styles and someone like Evian Terrell to play in the secondary, both of whom I think would be really good fits. Sonny Styles is a dog. Sonny Styles is a really, really good player. And you don't see Mike linebackers, projected super high in mock drafts, but the Bills will absolutely be looking his way on draft day. This is a guy who I think has the chance to be an incredibly impactful Pro Bowl linebacker for years to come for the Buffalo Bills if he goes there.
Yeah, I would be so mad if Sonny Styles went to the Bills. Really one of my favorite.
This would make me slightly upset, to
He
be
would be
honest.
he is
Like
one of my favorite players in this draft class. Someone who the best off-ball linebacker for me. He's this thing that stands out for to me. I don't know if that'll say it on his profile. Yep, there. 0% missed tackle rate. Absurd. So yeah, I love him as a player. I think this would be a home run pick for a team that has Milano who's aging and Bernard who's coming off a bad year. So yeah,
Yeah.
should I like admit that PFF knows more than me, or should I take someone? No, I'm better than PFF.
you
They're
are.
telling me that Chicago needs a run stuffer, which they do, and Caleb Banks is the guy. I don't think so. I think you
Mm.
point to Caden McDonald at Ohio State
Love that.
as that
Yeah.
run stopper for Chicago. I think he's the better player, and I know it has him ranked lower than a couple of guys here, but I think he's the second best run stopper in this class, and he's going to be a big get for the Bears.
Yeah, I don't understand PFF's love for Caleb Banks at all. The guy's coming off of a foot injury and is also already 24. I don't think he's going to be close to a first round pick by the time we actually get to draft day. Meanwhile, I agree with you. Caden McDonald, someone who's the best run defender in college football this year, again, when in doubt, take an Ohio State player. And Chicago, again, they're a pretty good team now, but they do need some help overall on that defensive front. So a good, again, safe pick for them. Moving on to Tampa Bay at 23, and their motto is just take the best player available. Don't like disregard need. It's worked out pretty well for them. They definitely would have taken Sonny Styles if he was there. I think they might have taken Caden McDonald if he was there too. I think
There's
they're going to take another receiver. I think they're going to take Denzel Boston. They
no,
will take another receiver. And hear me out.
there
Hear
was a
me out.
pick there that you should have made.
Okay. Who? Who? Tell me.
Avion Terrell was the pick there.
No, I like Terrell, but I think Boston is A, he's the best player on the board, and B, Mike Evans is a free agent and is aging. Chris Godwin is a free agent and is aging. You
Emeka
have
Egbuka has taken that role and thrived. You have
yeah,
Jalen
you have
McMillan.
you have one guy, you have two guys who are good. And I like Tez Johnson, but I don't know. But at the end of the day, the Bucks still want to have. They don't want to just have a fine receiving core. They still want to have one of the best in the league for years to come. Denzel Boston is probably the perfect, I would say, Mike Evans replacement. Someone who is, uh, I think, one of the best. I would say the best contested catch guy in this class. Someone who has been very productive throughout his career at Washington. Again, best player available. I think that's been the theme of this draft, where it's not like an amazing draft. Just take the best guy on the board. I think Denzel Boston's that guy.
All right.
Yeah. Lions here, I actually think I line up with a really good pick. This is another one, Dylan, where I agree with you. I think I'm better than PFF here
Mm.
because this is a guy whose name I haven't seen on this list at the top yet, but I absolutely think he's good enough to be even, earlier than pick 24. It's Matayo Uiagalelei.
Mm.
Uh,
Yes,
I
good
think
take.
Mm.
Good take.
this is a really, really great player. Yeah, see, like, why are we
Yeah.
ranking him as like
No,
the
I
number
agree.
10
I like
edge in the
that.
class when he's probably he's top five for sure. And I think the Lions benefit really, really greatly from having another pass rusher. Marcus Davenport hasn't been able to stay healthy. Um, and this is, their Michael Williams pick. This is their defensive line can't stay healthy. Um, the Niners had that. That's the only reason I think I bring up Michael Williams there. But Aiden Hutchinson needs someone to play on the defensive line with him. And it can't just be a rotating cast of injured free agents. Uyangalele has been excellent this year. He's been really, really good for Oregon, who have been really, really good as well. And I think this has got to be the pick for Detroit. It's pretty much best player available at this spot, too.
Can I just be reminded of who Dallas took with their first pick?
Yes. Sorry. They took CJ Parker.
TJ Parker. So you take an edge. Now you're in a spot where Dallas, I mean, if I'm Dallas, I don't shy away from a skill position player and a running back if it's there.
There's not a running back though that
There
you would
really
take
isn't.
here.
It's what
I
what's the
mean,
edge
unless you're
you
looking at
have?
like a Nick Singleton or a Justice Haynes, like
No,
they're not
Ramon
no,
good enough
Claiborne, like
here.
no, I'm not
no.
moved by that. This is a hard pick to make, and it's another one that I think would be traded.
I
I
mean,
think
you've got like a
cornerback. I
Chris
think they
Bell
could
out of
definitely use
Louisville.
a cornerback.
Yeah, I mean, Avion Terrell is the best player available, but two Clemson players in the same draft does not move me. But I'll take Avion Terrell.
Mhm. Yeah. Um, I think, yeah, I would say he's the best cornerback on the board at this point. Um, Dallas, I mean, Trevor Diggs, he is not the guy. Deron Bland does not look like. I mean, it's just two players that how much have they given them to them combined? And I don't think either
Way
should be
too
starting
much.
for them next year. So that's a big concern. I like Terrell. I think he'll be someone who is just gonna be a solid player at the NFL level, nothing more, nothing less. Um, 26. You got the Los Angeles Chargers. They still need to protect Justin Herbert. With all the resources they've invested, they still need to protect him. But I wouldn't take Connor Liu here. I would not take Jake Slaughter. He's better than 68, but I wouldn't take him here. So I'm not gonna go interior. Um, Look at edge. I think edge is very, eh. I don't like the guys there either. You know what? I'm gonna go defensive line. And I'm gonna go with a guy that again, now it's my turn to say I know more than PFF. I'm gonna go with Amari Washington out of Oregon. Someone who I think is, although Minter might not be here, I feel like they would still probably say similar scheme wise based on the fact that they've drafted for this kind of defense, where they want guys that are gonna be kind of just big big burly guys in the middle in like the interior pause, but just that can kind of slow down the run and allow them to play bracket coverage for the most part and put less players in their front seven. Amari Washington, someone who is going to be a plus run defender, someone who has a lot of, I think he's like 320. He's got a lot of bursts for his size. So I think I really think that Harbaugh and that crew will kind of relish in the opportunity to develop him as well. Again, another guy who a defensive lineman who's better than Caleb Banks, even though he's much lower than him. So I like this pick.
Yeah,
For
agreed. I also
yeah,
really like Amari Washington. Another one who I think should probably be higher up on this draft board. And I thought about picking, 10 picks earlier or so.
Mm,
Um, the Rams here, I believe we drafted Spencer Fano with their first
yeah,
pick.
that was their first
that is
pick.
correct.
Um, and then with this second one, I think I'm going to move over to the defensive side of the ball. Although I forget, we don't have any top quarterbacks available, right? Simpson, Mendoza, and Moore are all gone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think
Okay, so
more.
I'm probably not going to end up going quarterback here. And I think for me, the pick on the defensive side is going to be Colton Hood.
Mm. Is he
This
going
is
to
a
be
guy
eligible
who
though?
was that?
Yeah,
Is he
he
he's going
is.
to go to the draft?
I think
I
so.
think right now projects to go. He is a very young DB, one who will, you know, probably, probably benefit from sitting. I don't know, but he's a really talented CB2 for Tennessee this year, who I think projects to be a really, really good NFL corner. And it's a position of need for the Rams for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
Mm,
if his measurables are like they are right now as not a fully formed adult man, he is going to be a monster when he touches the league. But I mean, there's going to be questions about his security and how well he'll be able to play this young. But if he's there and eligible, go for it. You're a team that's able to compete without him, so why not?
yep. I think it's your pick.
Yeah, this is a tough one for New England because everything is telling me to go receiver here, and I don't really know who I would want in that
I mean, but
receiver.
look at what New England's doing without receivers.
Do you
I
mean
know, I
you
know.
got I mean there are guys like Chris
Like
Bell, Casey
I
Concepcion I
like Chris
like.
Bell a lot. I'm not
I,
sure he's a first round pick, but I
I
like him.
like Brazil over all these guys, but like my issue is if I take a receiver here, you kind of end the committee game that has worked so well for New England. But at the
I
same
don't
time,
think so.
I don't like any of the top end picks for them, so I'm gonna take Brazil at wide receiver.
Mm. Yeah, I mean I
I
don't hate
actually
it. I don't hate it. I think
I actually disagree with what you said about ending the committee. I don't think it ends the committee at all. This isn't Jordan Tyson. This isn't a guy being drafted in the top 10 picks.
Yeah, no, that's
The
fair.
guy, I feel like, I mean, I don't know all of the receivers that were drafted between picks 22 and 32 over the last 5 years or so, but just the couple that come off the top of the head, like Ricky Pearsall was drafted to the Niners, Keon Coleman to the Bills, uh, and then those guys didn't just immediately take over receiving rooms.
That's true.
mm,
That's true.
It's not a top 10 pick. It's not Malik Neighbors and Marvin Harrison. It really isn't. So I think that it's a really good spot to grab a receiver. Now, I do agree with you that I don't love any of the options at receiver at that spot.
yeah.
Sir, this one's you, I think.
Yeah, it is. I'm not a huge Brazil fan, but he does give that different element to New England where they don't really have an elite deep threat. I mean, Kayshon Boutte's good, but I mean, Brazil's got that like take the top off the defense kind of speed. So I do like that for New England, especially when May is one of the best deep ball throwers in the NFL. So yeah, I don't hate the pick at all. 29 now, the defending champs, Philadelphia Eagles. Hmm. Let's look at edge again. I don't really like any of the guys enough to take one here. look at cornerback
I think it's probably
also.
DB is where they go.
I think I like Keith Abney wouldn't be a bad pick here. I wouldn't hate Keith Abney here.
AJ Harris is the better pick as a corner there, I
Hasn't
think.
had a great year. Maybe they just keep on stacking Georgia Bulldogs and take Christian Miller here because they did lose Milton Williams. He's someone that I think that also Jordan Davis is also a pending free agent, I want to say as well. So I don't know. I don't love the options here for Philly. I think Christian Miller is the best player on the board. So I'm gonna go him here. Um yeah, I think he's someone who is, again, another guy. I mean, we're saying it a lot, but he's someone who's going to step on the field and be a very good run defender from day one. Has a bit of upside as well. I think he's been one of the probably maybe is played. No, but not as good as Caden McDonald, but he's been one of the better defensive linemen in the country this year. So I think back end of the first round, that does sound right for Philly. And this, I mean, Georgia Bulldog, it sounds like a Howie Roseman pick as well. So I think Philadelphia, I could absolutely see them just continuing to stack on this defensive line, considering where the board's at right now.
Yeah, and then, moving to pick 30, we got the Denver Broncos, and I think they end up in a decent spot here. I don't see how running back is their top need, with RJ Harvey shining right now.
Mhm.
Um, Tight end, I see that, but it's just not the pick here. I'm actually going to go to wide receiver and take Casey Concepcion. Uh,
I love that.
My
Hmm.
I
favorite name in the draft.
I like Chris Bell as a receiver more. He doesn't fit the Broncos as well as Concepcion does. Um, Chris Bell's a bigger bodied, more Cortland Sutton type receiver, and they've already got that and more of it with, I think, like Tim Franklin's similar, um, or Troy Franklin is similar.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, but I think that Concepcion just adds a more dynamic piece to the receiving core, someone who averages 7.5 yards after catch. Um, and I think that's what the Broncos need. He's a smaller built receiver, could potentially play in the slot, but he's definitely going to be used a lot more and in a more dynamic role, which I think the Broncos absolutely need right now.
Yeah, I really like that pick. I feel like Denver need a guy that they can trust in the short to intermediate game and get them yards, get open, get yards after catch, and that's Concepcion. Probably would have been my target for the Jets at 32, so a bit upset about that, but I like the pick.
That was also my target right here for Seattle. They need a receiver to complement Jackson Smith and Jigba. I was going to take Concepcion. I'm not a big Jacoby Lane guy or a big Omar Cooper guy, so I think I'm going to pass on that and probably end up going towards. I think I'm going to take Caden Proctor here because
Really? With
I like
Charles
Charles
Cross?
Cross
I
and I
don't
like
know.
Abraham Lucas to a degree, but I think Proctor actually has some versatility in him that he could play across the line and he could be a valuable piece that he'll start in whatever way they can start him. And I mean, I was going to take a receiver, but kind of stole that from me. So,
Yeah, I mean,
and also Seattle will not be picking at 31, so they'll have a higher
yeah.
pick and they'll figure something
Yeah.
else out.
I don't know. They've looked pretty good. They were always my sleeper team in the NFC. Let it be known. But I mean, I understand if they think Proctor can play guard, he is someone who, I mean, the athleticism is crazy, and I think he will go higher than this just because teams like, I don't know. I feel like Detroit are a team where they say, "Oh, look, we've got Taylor Decker, and we could have him sit behind him and develop, and then have two freaks of nature at tackle." So I could definitely see that. Philadelphia, another team that could have taken him as well, but I took Christian Miller. So, but I understand it at least. Now back to my Jets at 32. Again, would have liked a weapon for Simpson. I would have gone with Concepcion. I don't like the board here. I don't think not a huge Surratt fan. Not a huge Chris Bell fan. And then Omar Cooper should be higher, but I don't want him here either. Um, and then across the board on offense, otherwise I like our personnel. Edge is a spot we could use. I could see LT Overton here, but what I'm gonna go with for me, my best player available at a position of need, honestly. Considering I don't anticipate us re-signing Quincy Williams, I'm gonna go with CJ Allen out of Georgia to finish off this draft. Typical, I feel like Glenn kind of player, big, fast, great instincts, out of Georgia. Someone who probably I like Styles more, but I think he could end up rivaling him for linebacker one in this class, and someone who for me is definitely a top 32 player. Another instance where PFF, I just strongly disagree with their evaluation there. So I would be happy with a Ty Simpson, CJ Allen haul in the first round, then to again have 35 and 46 to address receiver.
Well,
But
that'll be the end of this mock draft. I think we did a pretty good job, all things considered. Usually, I feel like when we've done mock drafts in the past, we've kind of conceded to PFF a little bit.
mhm.
Today, we didn't do that, and I'm proud of us for it. We've got a lot of kind of deep cut picks, and I like the way we closed it out with the last 10 picks being kind of on our
Mhm.
own accord instead of following the board. But that'll be all that of our first mock draft of the 2026 season. We'll be back with a lot more down the stretch. Again, this was the Back Pocket Podcast. I was Dylan Shell. I'm here with Charlie Nidell and Serge Kadali saying so long. We'll be back next time.